Hey, Neatarts Friends Church. I hope you're doing well. This past Sunday was our second Sunday of staying at home. And there are going to be many byproducts of this time away from one another. But I hope that one of the byproducts is that we see how precious it is to be gathered with one another and to see one another's faces and hear the tone of one another's voices, and even to have a hand on a shoulder, a hug, a high five, a fist. So, I want to share with you the results of our 2020 survey. They are all about our gathered life. So, you may say, Aaron, this stuff is irrelevant to life right now. And yeah, in a way it is. But I hope that you will process this information and just be thinking about it as we go through this time, looking towards when we can meet with one another and savor that all the more. So here are our 2020 survey results. The question was asked, what are we doing well? And the resounding answer was that we like the around the table time. Also, our sense of community and care and welcome is very much appreciated. The preaching, the teaching, the music team is very much appreciated. And our outward focus, our connection with Helping Hands, and the connection that we are building with Christians in India. We wanted to understand specifically what people are appreciating about the around the table time, what's working, and here it is. It's a time to build relationships. It's a time when people can process and apply the sermon. They can hear multiple perspectives from others. The safety of the discussion guidelines, the do's and don'ts, really is valuable to many people. And also the freedom to discuss anything, that you can go off topic. And we can't forget the food. Thank you to all of you who provide food and drink and coffee and tea and setup and all of that to make the around the table time really work well. We also wanted to know what doesn't work, what don't you like about the around the table time. And the primary answer has to do with the do's and don'ts. When the do's and don'ts aren't followed, not everyone enjoys the conversation. I'll remind you of what the do's and don'ts are. So here are the do's and don'ts, and we created the do's and don'ts as a church family when we came up with this around the table time and really discussed it together and shaped it together. I listened to what all of you were saying about what a safe conversation would look like, a fruitful conversation, and condensed it, and that's how these do's and don'ts were formulated. To relax and enjoy the time and get to know new people and mix it up and listen and process your thoughts and allow for diverse perspectives. All of that is healthy. Uh, what we said didn't help this particular time would be and is if we force people to share, or if we feel too tied to the discussion questions, or if someone dominates the conversation, or if the conversation is turned into a debate, or we're demanding uniform thinking. And I'll single myself out so that uh, we all look inward instead of outward on this. I recognize that I don't always follow the do's and don'ts perfectly. So when we gather again, I'm going to be taking these to heart. How can I follow these when we're having this time so everyone feels safe. And I hope that you will see the value in these do's and don'ts for the around the table time as well and take them to heart for that time. What can we work on as a congregation? Here are the main things, the primary things that were identified. Outreach, inviting friends and neighbors to our gatherings. Informal midweek get-togethers with one another and building intergenerational relationships, engaging activities for youth. The current level of commitment within the NFC family, if you average it out, it's 7.8%. You can see the results there on the graph. I was thankful to see that there were some ones and some fours because that means that we have people who are just visitors and still filled out our survey or are checking things out still. They're really not sure if this is the right fit for them, but they're seeing if it is, and that's healthy. Thank you for your feedback on the summer ideas. Some things that could help when people are traveling and maybe there's a little lower attendance. Some outdoor worship services were mentioned by quite a few of you, and so uh, that is in the conversation. Also, midweek informal activities, hikes, bonfires, barbecues, etc., and promoting visibility to the tourist community that comes to Netarts. 87% of our church family feels that they have found a way to offer their gifts to either the church family and or to the world. And so that was very encouraging and positive to hear that feedback. We asked a question about what can be done to welcome newcomers and visitors and received a lot of helpful feedback. Specific to all of us, the primary piece that was mentioned, and this is going to seem so simple, but it really is helpful to remember. Nothing beats personal connection and introducing yourself and saying, hey, you want to come over, want to meet me for coffee, want to come over and have lunch with me, uh, those kinds of things. Nothing beats that. Our connection with Helping Hands showed us that there is a further conversation to be had once our church family is gathered. We only have 5 meals a year accounted for as far as our lead cooks, but we have a lot of volunteers. And so we'll have to keep having that conversation when we are together. No part of our mission and vision statement is irrelevant to us. We embrace it in a balanced way, and that was exciting to see. That was the wordiest question, but it's nice to know that our congregation as a whole really does see at least one part of the mission and vision statement that uh, different people say, I'm going after that. And that someone else says, I'm going after this part. And together, uh, it really does create this very balanced mission and vision. What do we dream of? It was so fun to read your answers here and to synthesize the answers. We dream of growth in health and numbers. We dream of stronger connections with our youth and stronger relationships with our community. Thank you so much, Netarts Friends Church, for filling out the survey. And I hope that as you reflect on how precious it is to be gathered during these days of isolation, that it will make it all the more special when we see one another again face to face.